Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Adobe Live. My name is Ryan Selvey, and I'm very excited to be joined by Hank Washington. How's it going, Hank?
Hey, hey, what's going on? Good to see you.
Good morning, or good afternoon, I guess. Good to see you. For anyone who has never seen your work before, do you want to just give a quick rundown as to who you are as an artist?
Absolutely. So, what's up, everyone? I'm Hank Washington. I am a designer and illustrator, creating here in the great state of Georgia. I am the founder of Fuzzies, which is a universe celebrating culture and diversity. And ultimately, my goal is to make work that you not only can see, but that you can feel. So, been lucky to be in this space for almost a little bit over a decade, about 13 years, and been lucky to work across some really great work with great people, great industries, and everything. So, it's been fun, and I'm excited to create with you all again. And it's been a minute, and it's good to see everybody live in the chat, and you too as well, Ron.
Yeah, absolutely. And so today we're working on a piece that is doing about doing what you love and being
Mhm.
inspired. So I know you mentioned very briefly at the very beginning there the fuzzies. So actually,
Yes.
while we do that, I'm gonna go ahead and pull that up on my screen because I feel like that is probably the closest to like I don't know, like a
Hmm.
passion project, unless
For
unless
sure.
I could think of something else, right? Uh,
Yeah. It was funny. It was at the time when I think it was back in 2017. I was doing a lot of like design work, and I wanted to really get back into just illustration and just doing things that was kind of fun. And following this great artist and getting inspired, I wanted to really like kind of create this universe of just characters that allows me to kind of think of ideas, explore ideas, and celebrate people and culture. And ultimately, I found this passion to really um, figure out a way to embrace like personalities and different cultures, whether it's like our style, our swag, just the way that we have our attitudes, and ultimately like build like this technique that people can ultimately feel some of these, illustrations come to life. And luckily enough, people have been gravitating to them, and it's brought a smile to my face just to have people kind of find themselves in some of these characters, and then embrace different moods, different characteristics, and ultimately, have this become a world, ultimately become a world that people can see themselves living in or being a part of or just to escape to. So
Yeah,
it's
do you have
really
any
been a
friends or
fun
anything that
year.
always are like, "Wait a second, Hank, is this one me? Like, is this me?"
Oh yeah, 100%. My wife is she's my muse on a lot of them,
Oh,
especially early on. So every now and then she'll see a piece and she's like, "I've had my hair like that," or "I wore this before." But no, but it's a lot of them are definitely inspired just from people in my life and people that I've been blessed to encounter. And sometimes we have like these pop-up booths where we have prints and everything, and we'll have conversations with people and they tell us like their story, and for some reason they just end up exposing some things that we like, oh, that would be great to illustrate and kind of ultimately celebrate, right? Not to necessarily like put out on blast or anything, but
right.
we really want to like celebrate them in a way, and hopefully that piece kind of connects with them in a way that's like indirect. It's kind of like an Easter egg type of thing.
No, I love that. And just
Mhm.
something about the positivity. Like you are, you get what you put out into the world. So being able to
100%.
put out something that is just so genuinely, I don't know, like authentically positive, like you can only
Hmm.
expect that then positive has to come in return. So we
For
are
sure.
live on both YouTube and Behance. So hello to everybody who is tuning in live. This is also going to be available as a replay. I promise to make sure it's worth your while, no matter if you're here live or watching the replay. I want to say
For
hi
sure.
to Cody and Damani, also Kelsey, who are also saying hello. If you guys have any questions about stuff as we hop into anything, please let us know, and I'll be
Hmm.
sure to pass them off to Hank. But if it's okay with you, Hank, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share your screen, and you can tell us a little bit about what we're working on today.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Awesome. So we are, like you said, Ryan, we're going to work on recreating this "Do What You Love" piece. Um, so really a super fun way just to kind of get some of these characters, get a character introduced. I don't have a name for this character, so I'm actually want to encourage the chat that if they have a name that we can call this character, I think it'd be good to kind of do a little voting or a little gameplay here.
I love that.
Um, so yeah, so essentially what we're working in Photoshop. As you see, I roughly already got like a sketch of like kind of what this character is. So we won't go into like heavy detail about like, all the paces of it. But I think we'll just focus on like how this character is built up. And you can see like majority of fuzzies in their anatomy. I try to just focus on like circular, round, try to stay at least away from like a lot of hard edges when it comes to these characters, just so they feel very soft
Right.
and ultimately like welcoming.
No, I love
So I
that.
have like a rough sketch here that we just, drew on iPad, whether you like draw it on paper or on iPad or fresco or anything like that. And I'm bringing it into Photoshop just so I can have a little bit more control on some of the color schemes here.
Cool.
And you can
Also,
see,
hello to Khalid, who is waving hello. Also, Alexis is here. Hi, of course, good to see you. Friend of
hey,
the
hey.
channel, also friend of the creator on screen. And then
For sure.
also hi to Sean and Trey and Yasina. Good to see everybody here. If you guys
Hey,
have
hey.
any ideas for the name of this guy on
Yes.
the screen, please by all means put them in. If you have questions about the process, let us know. And then also Hank is extremely talented. Also, even in addition to this independent project, he has a whole design studio that we will also kind of be looking at in just a little bit.
Mhm.
But I just wanted to make sure we had time to hop straight into the meat and the potatoes right when we got off the stop, but or the start. So if you guys have questions also about any of his other stuff, we'll also be hopping into that as well. Um,
For sure.
but yeah,
For
cool.
sure. For sure.
And I
Yeah,
already
man.
love the color scheme. Where do you normally get your color inspiration from? Is it just kind of like you pick stuff that works together, or do you kind of have a color mood board?
Yeah, so honestly, a lot of the early pieces when I was getting started, I knew I wanted all the characters to at least have some type of like vibrancy, just really colors that kind of really pop out and allow like a lot more like depth. So honestly, a lot of like the later pieces are actually like derivatives of some of the older pieces that I used to do before. So I didn't want to like steer away too much away from those color palettes, but I try to aim for like more warm and kind of have a nice contrast with some nice like cool colors, just to really give some distinction between like the characters with their skin color and also like with their features like hair and clothing and things like that.
Right.
Um, and over time, you start to see like a lot of it start to come together and feel very uh start to feel very like vibrant and kind of in setting like this warmish tone, kind of to provoke that warm and fuzzy feeling, which, pun intended, it inspired the name.
Yeah, it's kind of fuzzies. Is that where you always landed on, or did you kind of cycle through a bunch of different names before you landed on fuzzies?
Honestly, Fuzzy was kind of the early suggestion for a name that kind of just stuck.
Yeah.
Because it was really, I didn't have like a description for it, but people have gravitated towards it and said like, hey, these feel really fuzzy. And you hear that so many times, like, this might be kind of a fun way to, give these characters some names.
Right.
So I just ended up sticking with it and just rolling with it, and it ended up turning up to be like a really nice like easy name that people can like gravitate and say, "Oh, Fuzzies." Oh, okay, I think of these characters in some capacity.
So, and you said it was what 2017, right?
Yeah, roughly around 2017, 2016 time. Yeah.
So that's about 10 years now, which is crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it's
It's
incredible.
crazy how much a hobby or something that can turn into
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them on
like its
all
own
different corners of
universe.
the internet, you know? So it's like, it
Hmm.
definitely is one of those things where it's like over time, it definitely has made a reputation for itself. So, I mean, 10 years,
Absolutely.
congratulations. That's fantastic.
No, thank you, thank you. And honestly, it's all just credit just to people who supported me with this project and encouraged me to keep going with it, and also just people who shown up and just shown love on online, social media, and if they ever came to like a pop up, just the gravitation that people have towards it. Not even just the art itself, and it's really less about like just me or anything. Like people being able to see themselves, feel something, and have something they can take away and remind them of that feeling and holding on to that. I think it's so rewarding. Like
Yeah.
yeah, you really can't ask for much more as an artist for sure.
And so the way that you have this set up in like kind of a layered way for the face is for each different
Hmm.
element you have like a different part of the anatomy here. So it looks like the
Yes.
ear is its own folder. Um, as you're working
Hmm.
on kind of incorporating this shadow, how are you bringing that in on top of the layer?
Yeah. So essentially like you just said, like we try to keep the shapes very simple, and it allows us to focus more on like the depth and adding shadows and lighting on here. So basically what I'm doing, I have each piece of like the head here separated in its own grouping layer. And this is really great if you are planning to animate this, or if you have to send this off to another project or another creative to sort through. And it just allows a lot more ease into like other things that you may want to try with this. So basically what I'm doing in each layer, I like to start from like the, well, we say like the bottom on your layer panel, but it's really more towards the back and work my way up to the front.
Mhm.
And what I'm doing is with my shape here, you see this ear here. All I'm doing is we hold down Command, or it may be was it the Windows key, I
I
believe.
think it's control when you're on Windows, and you
Mhm.
collect it to be able to select it, right?
Correct. So
Yeah,
holding down, you can see that little icon shows up near your cursor. And just selecting that, it just isolates that shape. And that just allows us to pretty much put anything we want, as long as it'll always show up in that isolated area. And basically what I'm doing, and it's a couple, I'm actually doing it in a different way than I typically do it, but what makes it simpler is if you go in and you get like a soft brush, doesn't matter like what kind of, smooth brush it is, but I just try to get like a little soft brush, and I just I just lower the opacity and I lower the hardness on the brush, just so I can gradually start to build some of those values and really start to, build in some of that depth. And I like to just kind of knock the opacity and flow down to roughly about 80%. You can go lower if you want to have a little bit more control on how gradual you want that to be, but it's kind of a really sweet spot for me, so that I can just kind of slowly go in and add, just more and more layers of different colors. So right now I have like a very strict palette here, but if I wanted to go in, let's say I want to add like a deeper blue on top of this purple, I can slowly, implement that in without it kind of taking over too much of,
right.
you know, over this harsh color.
And then are you
And
just using the system generic brushes here, or do you have a
yes,
certain set that you kind of import?
yes. So there's two. I do have a custom brush that I did create, which is a fuzzy brush.
Fuzzy brush.
That just has that has like its own texture. But for this technique, you can actually use like the standard default brushes. And the way that you can get that kind of texture, which I can show you here, is, usually you kind of wait to the end to do this, or if you want to kind of see it gradually build. If you select that area of where you added that brush texture, you want to make sure it's on a separate layer that we got here. You can actually go up here to filter, and we're going to add noise, and we're going to go in and say add noise here. And you can see it kind of gives you like a really, really subtle like texture here.
Right. And so
And it's
you're like
really nice.
even implementing that into individual um, layers themselves for noise. You're not even just
Mhm,
doing like a noise like on a top layer kind of down. You're
mhm.
doing it individually.
For sure, for sure. And it sometimes it does make the kind of the file a little bit, heavier, as far as file size, but it's a really good way to kind of like, you know, again, just have a little bit more control, because you may see that one layer may need a little bit more texture, and sometimes it may not be as consistent depending on like the depth of your illustration. But I
Right.
just try to have as much control as I can, versus like, having one general setting for the whole illustration. Uh,
Also, Miss Melanie is joining us from Los Angeles. Always nice to see you, Miss Melanie. Welcome back. We
Hello,
are
hello.
going through some of Hank's work here. If you have any questions, comments, if you have an idea for a name, please by all means throw it in the chat. Kelsey says, "What do you do with your art?" Yeah, so do these mostly live online? I saw when we were on the Fuzzy's website, you had some partners. What does that look like?
Yeah, so majority of the time these pieces are definitely made to be shared online. If I have like a piece or idea, I like to just kind of just share it, or at least walk through like the process of, me creating it. Um, in some cases, if there's a piece like I'm really passionate about, or I feel like is connected to someone that, I'm close to, like a friend or anything, usually we try to gift them. If we have, it's say like a friend's birthday or something like that, or, we see like a piece that makes sense or celebrating something, we'll gift it and just say, hey, thought about you making this. I think this would be a great piece for your home. And we'll have like small like 12 by 16 prints or like little small like 10 by 10 prints, just so that people can actually, hang it up in their space and have that like, the subtle reminder. But and in some cases too, we'll, have it, I'll print some and put some in my office just to kind of say, okay, this was fun to make. Let me make sure I don't see this in the real world.
Now, is
Yeah,
that
but a lot of
print on
cases is on
demand
social.
services?
Yeah, we used to do that. We still do a little bit of it. Like I said, I think starting to enjoy more of the in-person like pop-up type of thing. So
Yeah,
we'll have, select pieces that we'll make available online as print on demand. And then some pieces will say, hey, these are only exclusively available at our pop-up. And it just gives us
right.
a chance to connect with the community and, you know, meet people.
Oh, sorry, but even more so, like for your own, even like let's not direct to consumer, but for when you
Mhm.
are you normally printing them through a service and getting them shipped to you, or are you printing them at home
Oh, yes. I print them through a service. Through a
through
service,
service?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And then like, do you feel
Mhm.
like you normally see the right representation of color when it comes to you, like the vibrancy? Does that normally come through when it comes out and it's not on a screen?
For the most cases, it does show up pretty close. Like there, in
Yeah,
early on when we first started, really testing the waters of putting these in the physical world, it was a little bit challenging to get the colors a little bit like closer to see because sometimes the colors may not come out as vibrant as we intended them to be, or they may not necessarily match as well. And honestly, this project actually taught me a lot of just about like a little bit more of like color theory and understanding like that role that it plays in print. 'Cause, you kind of dive into something and you get so like sucked in onto the screen version of it, and you realize like, oh, this actually doesn't work the same way in the real world than it does on the screen.
right.
Um, so, over time, we started to get better and better at knowing how to convert these into a space where, like, all right, if it looks like this on the screen, maybe we need to brighten these colors so that way it really shows up on the right materials. And most times that's really on print paper, right? So, like, if it's something like a keychain, or if we do like like a sticker or something like that already has that tendency to be a little bit more vibrant, we run into less issues. It's most times like when we're printing on specific paper for posters that we have to kind of like really be intentional on,
Yeah,
our color
Kelsey's
scheme and
actually
color
asking if you
choices.
ever have done apparel, and also I just want to say a hi to Belfry and also to Patrick, who are both saying hello in the chat.
Hey. Yes, we have definitely done a pair. I actually got a piece on. I don't know if everybody can
Oh
see
wait,
it,
Jose,
but
let me blow up your thing real quick. Yeah,
let's
look
see.
at
Yeah,
him, little
yeah, yeah,
banana
yeah.
guy.
This one, yeah. So this is one of our favorite pieces. So it's our
Oh,
never
so fun.
slipping,
Never
our
slipping.
never slipping hoodie on there. So yeah, it
That's
was
amazing.
yeah, we actually started with a t-shirt design of it, and I was like, it could be very interesting. And I played a lot of Mario Kart, so I don't know if you're
Yeah.
familiar with the banana
Oh, of
peel on there.
course. I'm
So
very, very familiar. Too
so
familiar. Too familiar for my productivity.
there you go. So I guess when you see enough of those, that's when you're kind of like, okay, maybe
Yeah.
let's turn it into something I think people can connect with.
And then yeah, so while I was kind of chatting your ear off there, you did a lot of work here with the ear here with adding both shadow and highlight and then even like sheen to it.
Mhm.
This is all you work all kind of like on one specific layer above the shape, right? So you use this
Correct,
shadow and highlights all in the same kind of area.
correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Hmm.
Do you
Yeah.
ever run into issues with that, with it kind of being kind of flattened, or is that where when you work best?
Yeah, and most times it's not paying attention when I'm usually working on something that's off flat, or if it's like, something where I really know exactly where I want to go with this. In some cases, like, especially when you're kind of drawing on the go, or if you're like on your iPad or anything like that,
Yeah,
your layer count can be very limited, in some cases. And it may be something where you quickly want to, get something out there, just kind of like see the reaction.
yeah,
So you're kind of less careful on being very, um, I guess much like really in control on a lot of the pieces that you're trying to make or the elements that you try to put into the piece. So in most cases, yeah, I try to keep as much separate, but have been plenty of cases where it's like, okay, I know exactly where I want to go with this. So let me, I'll combine a couple of layers, or maybe I'll just work on top of one. And, if it comes to where like, okay, this is actually getting a better response, or, maybe more people are gravitating toward this, or maybe I want to like animate this later on. Um, then it may be a point where I'm like, okay, let me actually go back and maybe recreate this to where I can simply like, eliminate some of the combined layers and have a little bit more control on there.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Um, Also, Kelsey is saying that she is working on an e-commerce store herself with printed apparel, and she used Printful for her print on demand, which I've definitely heard
Nice.
people using that before. And I think I've
Hmm.
heard pretty good things. Obviously, not an Adobe endorsement, but just as Ryan Selvey talking, I think I've heard good things about Printful before.
Gotcha.
Um,
Gotcha.
Belfry is also saying nice design, and Reverb Mike is saying go bananas. Um, Alexis is saying that the Fuzzy Shop will be popping up at Smorgasburg Festival in Atlanta, Georgia, starting March 7th. Congratulations, dude! That's awesome.
Yes.
He says
Yes.
free entry. Visit us. So,
Yes,
uh,
absolutely. So if you have an Atlanta area, definitely stop by the Smorgasburg on a weekend, and we'll be there. We'll be there.
um,
100%.
also,
Yes.
yeah, no, that would be really cool. I love going down to Atlanta. I need to make a trip down there sometime soon. It's been a few years now, but it's really cool how much of an artistic community they have, how much of a
Hmm.
film industry they have.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I'm saying they
Absolutely.
as if like you're not there, but I guess I could say you guys have like
No, it's great.
down
It's
in proper Atlanta.
great.
Is
No,
Smorgasburg right off of the Beltline?
I believe so.
Okay.
They started in Brooklyn.
Oh
Funny
yeah, no,
enough,
I know it up
and
here. I know it up here for sure. There's
yeah.
two up here.
Hmm. And they're actually introducing it for the first time here in Atlanta. So
Oh, cool.
I don't know I don't know on top of my head like the exact location, but I believe it is very close to the
I'm
Belt
gonna
Line.
Google it.
Alexis would definitely know, know better than I would, but it's no, we're super excited to be a part of it, and the people behind it, they're super nice and super kind. So for them to even consider us as an option is beautiful.
Yeah, that's
Definitely
so
great
cool.
to
And she says
as
that it's
artists.
every weekend until November. So
Yes.
you've got your summer booked then, it seems like.
Yeah, it's gonna get very busy.
Are you preparing to have like additional prints? Are you in the production phase for that, or do you have enough of a backlog that you're feeling like you're in a good spot?
Sort of both. Yeah, we have a lot of illustrations that are ready to go to print. That
Hmm.
we're going to try some new things out, and we do have a quite a bit of a backlog that we want to introduce to the area. So a lot of times when we do pop-ups, we used to be where we're always like, all right, it's a new pop-up, let's get some new products out there. And when we start to realize is that, hey, it's we understand the urgency, but it doesn't make sense to try something new for everything because some people
Right.
haven't even been introduced for the first time. So we try to remember that, and that just kind of relieves a lot of the pressure on trying to be new for every case. So we started to just focus more on the backlog, introduce the story, tell more people about like the reason it exists, and then over time start to gradually build out more of these different characters. And I say the ultimate goal is to make this a universe that people can maybe find a character they can keep up with, and maybe even develop their own story with some characters that they have a pull to. So
Yeah.
yeah, but it's gonna be fun. I think it's gonna be a great opportunity to get more invested into the community and introduce fuzzies out there and hopefully inspire some more people either watching the live to come to Atlanta. Come to
Yeah,
Atlanta and hang with
apparently
us.
it's at 140th Forsyth South Street Southwest. So I guess that's
Mhm.
South downtown Atlanta. But I say that when I went there, I was so confused with how many downtowns you guys have because there's like
Yeah.
8 downtowns.
Yeah, it
I'm like,
is.
oh wait, this was downtown. Like, no, 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 that's over there. That's over there. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
what are those skyscrapers over there? Like, what?
Exactly, exactly. Now it's one of those things where like Atlanta is only like it's really a small area that's actually Atlanta, and they just adopted so many different surrounding cities that
Hmm.
whenever you hear something that's happening in Atlanta, it's really like another town. But we just say, okay, we're adjacent to Atlanta, so in order to keep it recognizable. It's like, okay, it's Atlanta.
That's it's so confusing to me. But then also, I tell people I'm in Brooklyn. They're like, "Oh yeah, no, my cousin's in Brooklyn. Like, you guys, are you guys close to each other?" I'm like, "No, they are literally like an hour away. Either
Yeah.
by car, train, or walking. They are an hour away." Um, Perva is joining us. Alexis is adding context saying that it's downtown Atlanta near Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Oh, very cool.
hmm
Um,
hmm
uh,
Yeah.
I am interested in a way, almost like if you ever would like create a limited edition one that you have, almost like a Princess Diana
hmm
style Beanie Baby, you know, but of a fuzzy, like,
Oh,
and could be cool to like do some sort of limited, like only the summer of 2026 Atlanta smorgasbord print that you would sell. That would be really cool. Um,
oh, that would be awesome. Well, you know what, Ryan? Just because you asked for that, we're gonna make that happen. I'm gonna
Heck
figure out a
yeah.
way to make that
All right.
happen.
Cool. I'm sorry if
Yeah.
it crashes and burns. If it does, it's not my fault.
No, no worries. You just take all the liability for that one.
Yeah. I only want to take credit if it is wildly
If it does
successful. If
great.
it's not, I had nothing to do with it.
100%, 100%. But no, we've definitely thought about like some, limited edition pieces. We really focus on that more on like some of our merch and things that we, try to sell with the brand. Like, so we actually last year we released our second edition like sketchbooks, where we
Oh,
have just
cool.
like these fuzzy inspired sketchbooks. And we usually do a limited run of those, just because we only make them available for the pop-ups. Well, we used to only make them available for the pop-ups, but nowadays we
Yeah.
have a lot more available for that you can actually buy, through the fuzzy shops and stuff as well. But we just thought it was a great piece to like have when we have conversations. Sometimes we run into kids or young adults who are in the creative space, and you hear their stories about like the things they want to learn how to do, and like the fields they want to get in. And sometimes it's just great to kind of one just to hear them being inspired and wanting to get into the space, but also we want to make sure like we're able to be a support system for them in whatever capacity. So
Right.
sometimes we'll see kids come up and they tell us like, hey, I plan to be a graphic designer, and like when I hear that I'm like, whoa, what, the graphic? Okay, let's talk.
Yeah.
Let's
Your
hear
ears
something.
perk up.
Yeah, exactly. It's always great to not only hear that, but being able to be a support system to what we tell them. Like, sometimes we'll gift them as part of like their order, like, hey, here's a sketchbook because we want you to be able to have a space where you can express your ideas. And my selfish dream is that places become a space where like it sparks that, in a sense. So, but that's
Okay.
that's
I
just
have
me
two
talking
questions from
selfishly.
that. Number one is what got you into graphic design? Like, what was the
Mhm.
catalyst that got you interested?
Yes, so the long short story is when so I played a lot of sports going into high school. So I was heavy
Yeah.
into a lot of basketball, a little bit of football and baseball. And I was entering a stage where I had to really figure out what was happening next after graduation.
Right.
And my sights were just on like, okay, I'm going to play ball somewhere. I don't know what it's going to look like. I'm gonna try out and just figure it out, some type of way. But my dad was very adamant about like, hey, have something you can like, figure out what you want to do. And my brother was actually one of the first creatives that I've ever like seen in this place. So he was one of those people that like always drew whenever, he was at home. He had like these sketchbooks full of sketches of like his classmates or like Boondock characters or, just random things that he would draw. And that was like my first time like getting introduced like the idea of like artistry, just like what it
Right.
means to like be an artist in a sense like that. So I hung out a lot with him, and he actually had a friend of ours who, lived down the road from us, and he was actually into graphic design. And this was around like the MySpace time. I hope I'm not, giving too much of my age here, but
No,
this was
but I'm
like the
right there with you.
MySpace, the MySpace blog area. So this is way before you got updates on like Instagram or TikTok or anything like
Yeah.
that. But he had a blog that was really cool. It was called Apartment K, and I don't think it's still up, but it was inspired by his college apartment. So when you go onto the site, you can actually see like it was really cool. It was set up like an apartment, but you can click in different areas where like you can click the record player, you can see
Oh, I
like the
love that
music that came
stuff.
out. And it blew my mind. Like you gotta think this is back in like 2000. eight, nine,
Right.
like when social media was just becoming like really becoming a thing. And when I saw this, I was like, oh, this is like phenomenal. I don't know what this is. I don't know what to call this, but I want to create something like this for like a living. And that's when my brother introduced me, like, yeah, that's graphic design. So from there, I was super inspired, and I kind of have a little bit of more roadmap of saying, okay, I want to get into design. So I grew up in Mississippi, and
Oh,
Mississippi
no
State
way.
had a program there. And it had a program there at Mississippi State, and I was able to go and study there. A lot of great colleagues that are still together to this day, and had a great community. And over time, just I did okay in school because it was really tough to learn it.
Yeah,
But
I
a
mean, it's
lot
a
of the
big learning
lessons
curve at
really came
first. I think that's also
huge
the
learning
biggest
curve.
thing is just getting people through that initial learning curve, and then you're like,
Yeah,
once you get like, you're gonna hate your work kind of at the beginning.
100%.
Even if you love it, you're gonna hate it, and like you just have to just remember that you gotta just get through it,
You
and then
got
you end
to,
up
you got to.
being able to create amazing stuff like this. And so there are a few things that I want to call out that you've done with this one
Mhm,
specifically. I thought it was really cool when you did the highlight on the lower end of the eye, and that was
mhm,
just by kind of selecting it and going around the radius of it. Then you went under and added the
mhm,
shadow. I think
mhm.
this was before we went live, or maybe I just didn't catch it. But you also have the fade on the side noise to that brush, or was that a blend mode that you changed into noise? How did you get that fade?
Yes. Yeah, great call out. Yeah, that was actually from a brush. So it's actually from the fuzzy brush that I do have. And
Okay.
I just picture for that, I just basically did a mask and just went in and added like that texture just to give it like a nice little blend. So, with curly hair, we always are very, very fond of our fades, high taper fades. So I wanted to make sure we that subtle like culture touch on there.
Yeah. Um,
Great catch on that though too.
yeah, no, because it looks really great, and that's what I love about fuzzies is that there is a lot of shine. There's a lot of I don't know, like squeakiness to it, but at the same time there
Hmm.
is grit and there is parts that then like feel very like texturized to it, and I think it's a really
Hmm.
good harmony between the two.
For sure, for sure. And all of this is just like an evolution of just trying new things with every character. So before, there was no like highlights or anything. It was just really more about the anatomy of the characters. And even if you go to Instagram, you go like all the way back of just like some of the early pieces, like there was just like just really these characters in different settings and all that stuff too. But over time, it's funny, even Alexis, you pointed out every now and then, it's like, you done something different with this piece. And I was like, really?
Yeah,
And you start to see like just new opportunities just to give these a little bit more of a distinction. And over time, I always enjoy seeing like from any artist, whether it's, visual artists or whatever they do, is seeing a catalog of the evolution, right? Like seeing like, all right, I've seen where you started. I saw like how your ideas like started to come to life, and then you start to see how the ideas evolved and started to get like tighter and tighter to what you enjoy today, you know?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess that's a great transition because we are about halfway through, and
Hmm.
kind of speaking to your journey, and getting to what you love. I want to bring up your hanksdesigns.com website real quick. Now, it says that Hanks Design is an independent branding and creative studio partnering with teams and ambitious brands that turn strangers into friends. Cute.
Hmm.
Um, Looks like you have experience with brand identity, some more kind of illustrations as well, and then even art direction with like cool music festivals, which I'm so jealous of. Um, so, how long have you been doing this?
Yeah, so I'll say professionally, and by professional I mean it's been helping me pay rent and
Yeah,
bills.
right.
Uh, so I've been lucky enough to do this for a little bit over 13 years, and
Okay.
I have to definitely make sure I shout out my community and just people, every client and um, everybody that just supported me and just gave me opportunities to work on different things. Um, that they got me to this point. And a lot of the early projects that I worked on, even like that one that you're on, was all in pursuit of just helping friends out. I have
Yeah.
buddies who had like these really great like world changing ideas that they were really already inspired to like to really do already, but they just needed kind of that extra push and motivation to keep going with it, especially when they see an opportunity where they can have really nice branding and tell a story. And that just allows them to like really go on and do some amazing things. So I always make sure like I salute them to for trusting me with their visions and all that stuff too. So over time, it grew and been lucky enough to work with some amazing brands who to tell different stories, mostly around like again like brand identities and really helping like these founders take their ideas to life. Because every time we finish a project where we present a concept or things like that, seeing like them light up is like re-energizing to me as a creative. At times you kind of get that imposter syndrome, you kind of feel like you don't feel
Of
like you
course.
belong in this space and things like that. But every now and then I'm usually reminded to say, hey, like, you're not necessarily changing the whole world, but you're changing someone's world. So, holding on to that privilege and that reminder just helps me like keep going into, I guess doing what I love for sure.
Yeah, and I've actually it's funny, I saw your block branding and stuff outside
Mhm.
of context that it was you, which is really cool.
Oh, that's
um
dope.
I've seen it elsewhere. And what really stuck out to me is the flexibility of it, and I love the
Mhm.
idea of a brand system rather than just like a brand logo, and being able to use it
Mhm.
in the language and how you interact with different pieces. You have this great typeface, but then you're really using the O and block to
Mhm.
represent not just the product, but then also use it as a frame, which is really pretty.
For
Um,
sure.
and that's really, really cool. It also must be so cool to also kind of like think at such a large scale of being like, this is made to be
Mhm.
gigantic on like a shipping container. Um,
100%. a hundred
and then I
percent.
don't want to take too much away from your fuzzies, I promise, but I do want to just
No, you're
quickly, because I
good.
love like the visuals and the things that happen around festivals, and these like how there's so many places when you go to a festival where like every inch has been thought out by someone. What was
Hmm.
it like working in this capacity and when you had to really zoom out and think of so much?
Yeah, so that was another one of those projects that was like a big learning curve, and it's one thing I do enjoy is being able to learn with the client too as well. Because so that's project specifically is a tech conference that happens here in Atlanta called Run ATL, and
Hmm.
the founder and I we actually went to college together and everything. So we had when he presented the idea to me, of course I enjoyed it, but I had to let him know like I didn't know nothing about the space. Like I don't know
Yeah.
nothing about like engineering or software engineering like that. But I was like, okay, this is an opportunity to lean into what I know how to do and then really lean into what he knows as an expert of the space. And over time we had a lot of great conversations. And the biggest like hurdle we had to go over is like, how do we make this a experience that is different than what we, kind of seen across the board at the time.
Yeah.
And one of the things I would say is like, some conferences they don't have a lot of like flavor in a sense when it comes to, like the food or anything like that. And being that this is in Atlanta where it's literally a culture hub, we was like, okay, we got to make this an opportunity that people can come feel Atlanta, come to a tech conference, but don't let it too much feel like a tech conference. Like, how can we speak to Atlanta and other things that if they're natural. So, over time we tried a bunch of different things. There was no hesitation on ideas. And as you start to learn like how design works at scale, where you have to kind of make sure that it doesn't only look good on your screen, but you got to think about it like, all right, we have to scale this up in like a 40 by 40 space. It's a whole
Right.
nother level of thinking, but
A whole nother
it's
idea.
an idea. But you start to really appreciate the idea of like events and things that happen in person. Because the lockdown, it really, during COVID, all this stuff. So it really put us in this like box of thinking where all right, we only focus on like it doesn't look good on digital. But when you come
Yeah.
back and you start to like really build spaces where people start to commune and really reunite, it just takes design thinking to another level. So like any designer who's worked on a event, like I salute to them, or people who want to get into events, like it's another level of thinking, but it's rewarding when you can
Yeah.
have people come in, take pictures in front of the work that you've done and have this documented in a way that like people have memories with your design work on there. And also it's just great to collaborate with a team that trusts your vision, can give you raw feedback on your vision and really just connect with a community that you may not necessarily be familiar with.
Yeah, and I think it's important to bring people in that aren't necessarily familiar with the space when you are working on a product like this, because, like, to your
Hmm.
point, a lot of these conferences get really boring with their branding because they just tend to kind of revisit the same ideas over and over again because they're too much
Hmm.
into, like, like you would drinking their own Kool-Aid. Whereas, like,
Yeah.
these chains as lanyards is hilarious, and also so far from anything that would be like, I don't know, with like developer conference kind of tech thing for me, which I
Hmm.
love. But then mixing that also with the floppy disks are just like um such a mix of like nerdy and cool that, like, I'm definitely more on the nerdy side, so I'd be like, oh, I'm cool, I have like a chain thing. And then Alexis is saying, let's talk about these really cool posters, which, yes, the posters really stood out to me. I love the treatment that you had with the boxes and the drop shadows and the numbers, and they immediately grabbed my attention. So just
Nice.
oh, the keyboard, that's also so cool. Yeah, just really great job, man. Awesome. So you guys
Thank
can check
you.
out all
Thank
these
you.
on hankdesign.com. And then, yeah, are you open for work? Like, if someone sees this and they're looking for some creative studio partnering, are you currently booked, or are you open for work?
No, we're definitely open for it. We always love to have the conversation and seeing ways that we can collaborate. And and also too, just with that project, I have to salute my team too as well. I had an amazing team behind me, including Alexis as well, that really supported a lot of the ideas and helped facilitate a lot of the thinking too.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, but we're always open to collaborating and making something impactful. We really want to do more event focused things that really builds and brings a community together. And I think that'll be just a great, partnerships and ways that we can, support. So, if it aligns with someone, then I would love to have a conversation.
Jax was saying there's some J's on those posters. Yes. There's lots of lots of style in all of those, which was very fun. Now let's take a look at, we're getting pretty far
Hmm.
um uh with our character here.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying I'm the only one who has contributed to the question answer here for whether there's a good name for it. So I don't even want to call out my own ones. I want you guys to put in the chat. Um, oh, she said J's as in JavaScript, which is hilarious because I was like
Uh,
thinking like J's on my feet, which is so funny.
yeah.
But that goes back to the idea of like chains with lanyards,
Hmm.
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it does. It does.
um,
That's hilarious. Jake's with JavaScript. Oh
uh,
man, that's hilarious.
Also, Sean wants to know if you ever played ball in. He says KC, so I'm guessing if that's Kansas City. Because you said you're in Mississippi, right?
Mississippi,
Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
Um,
Uh, no, I've never. Wait, is he asking if I played in Kansas City?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, because
It's
is it KC? I don't know.
no, I haven't. I haven't. I'm will be open to. I'm actually scared to play a full game of basketball nowadays. I feel
Really?
like I may have sat down a little bit too long
No, man, I
and
don't know what
got
you're
too
talking about. We were talking about
relaxed.
MySpace earlier. We are young and we are great.
You're
And
right.
when,
You're right.
we're never sore after, we run for 10 seconds,
You're right. 100%. 100%. We may be a little bit out of breath and need an an inhaler, but we're going to survive to the next day.
Um,
Um, but no, I haven't, and I'm working on trying to slowly get back into it. It's just like nowadays when it's funny, like my wife and I will go to the court and we'll see like everybody's playing like a pickup game, and I'll be like kind of itching to get out there and play, but I'm thinking in my head, okay, I might be able to get to 5, and y'all are playing to like 24. I'm like, ooh, I
yeah.
might. Like I might need a. I don't know if it's cool to have subs in a pickup game. Like,
Subs in a pickup game. Just like, okay, cool. Is it cool if I call a few friends? We only want to fill one
right?
spot, but we want to
That's
rotate
it.
while you guys do the
There
rest
you
of the
go.
game.
There you go. It has to be like a whole like plan for a pickup game. Like I have to have my day and week planned out for a pickup game. Like just in case this happens, we're taken care of.
Right. It's hilarious. Um,
Definitely.
okay, so I have a suggestion for a name.
Let's do
Just
it.
like Jalen Knox. I don't know. Something. I
Ooh,
was trying to
Jalen
think of something that
Knox.
felt kind of 90s. Kind of felt like sometimes your stuff gives me like almost like a Hey Arnold vibe or like a Recess
Hmm.
vibe.
Hmm. Hmm.
Which I feel like could exist in that category.
Hmm.
Um, Or just like they could have like a cool, just like one letter name. Like it'd be like, they'd be J or something, or they'd be like,
Yeah. Yeah.
r- randomly just like, X, but they wouldn't have any sort of like explanation into the cartoon as to why that exists. you
You're
know?
right. You're right.
Um,
It's actually really cool how a lot of those like old cartoons, like just like thinking back now, like how they came up with a lot of those names for these characters and like
hmm
how they, I don't know if they knew how much like those names would stick nowadays.
Right.
Like I wonder like what was like the thought process. Like, you think about like Rocket Power or like I think what was the
Yeah.
main character? Like Rocket was like
Otto.
Rocket Boy?
Yeah,
Otto, yeah,
Rocket
like
Boy with
yeah.
Otto and Squid.
The squid, like you like how do you think these names are gonna
Very great.
stick? Like, you know,
Rocket
even
Power
like
used to
Ed, Ed, and
frustrate me
Eddie.
though because I'd be like, how are they good at everything? This is not realistic. Like,
Surf, skateboard, inline skating, all of it.
skimboarding, like
Golly.
snowboarding, wakeboarding. Like it was like literally anything, a different sport every different episode, and I could barely, like stand on a skateboard.
And they lived the life too, man. Their dad owned the diner, like you get free fries. Like, oh,
Yeah,
come on,
that's
man.
crazy.
Like, come on,
Uh,
man. That has to be the life.
Kelsey wants to know where she
um,
can. Oh, he can find. Sorry, Kelsey. I have friends, Kelsey, that are women, so I don't mean to keep calling you she. But I know you called out that it's he, so sorry about that. But Kelsey wants to know where he can find you and your work. Are you on Instagram?
yeah, yeah. So you actually follow Fuzzies at fuzzies.co
Great.
on Instagram. And the studio at Hank Designs studio. If you do a search, you'll see a like a black and white W
Yep.
as the favicon. And yeah, I'm pretty much there. TikTok, Fuzzy's Co as well, if you want to see a little bit some behind the scenes of some of the characters. Um Trying to see anywhere else. Yeah, and then fuzzies.co online too as well if you want to see a gallery. I typically try to post finished pieces there. So usually whenever I finish a new piece, I'll just drop it on the website where you can see that and pretty much majority, if not the whole catalog of just fuzzies on the site too as well. So try to make it its own little gallery so that it's sometimes it serves a reminder like, okay, keep going. Keep going. You're doing
Yeah.
okay.
I'm also
You're doing
like
okay.
suddenly kind of thinking of your fuzzies and like Pokemon trading cards, kind of. Whereas
Mm,
like I know they're not like animals or anything. They're characters that are human, which isn't
hmm
very like magic or isn't very Pokemon. But just something about the collectors, I feel like being
hmm
like, oh, I got a holographic. Like because when you did the shine of the glasses here, I'm like thinking about if you were to be able to like move them side to side, if it had like a prismatic effect, like that'd be so cool.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah, absolutely. And see that, and
Also,
that's another thing of like the layering everything, so that way you can like have that opportunity to animate that. Which that's a great idea. Like, I'm actually gonna steal that actually.
yes, yes. All right. Once again, only if it's successful.
I don't know if
Um,
it's successful. Okay.
and then Kelsey's saying he's looking forward to following you and stuff. Dino's here, which I'm excited about. Good to see you, Dino. Reverb Mike is
hmm
bringing up Ed, Ed, and Eddie, which I did not like. It freaked me out. I didn't like
What?
that their tongues were different colors.
Okay, I
I
can
didn't
understand. I can
understand a
understand.
lot of it. That speaking of like speaking of like parents not being around, Ed, Ed and Eddie, I was like, what universe is this apocalyptic child
Yeah.
civilization?
Yeah, it looking back now, it is very interesting. It is a very
and
interesting world
and I could see
on
how
that.
maybe fuzzies could be maybe adjacent, but like I'm not scared of fuzzies. Fuzzies like give me
Mhm.
fuzzies. I'm scared of Ed, Ed
Yeah.
and Eddie. I'm scared of everyone in that show.
Yeah. Yeah, and then they have some layer of character on there. That's very interesting. So
Yeah,
oh
but
man. But
inspiring character
it was
design
a best show.
nonetheless.
Oh, 100%. And the naming is definitely like genius too. Like to have all three characters named
It's
Ed,
so
but
weird,
still
man.
different anyway.
So weird.
Um But yeah, as far as where I am, I am making some progress in here. But for the sake of time, we can go and kind of see like what the finished product could look. But again,
hmm
that technique it works really well. So if you guys want to do this, or if you want to go ahead and just use a regular brush or like a texture brush that feels very close to that, it works the same way. And this is just kind of another way
Okay.
to kind of like get that gritty texture and but have a little bit more control. So if you see like the final piece, it'll end up turning out much more like
Wow.
this. Again, it's a little bit more detail
Yep.
but oops, sorry. But
You got some darker purples in this one. It seems like
mhm,
you really brought like up the contrast in this, whereas like the other one
Hmm.
felt a little bit more closer to the middle. And then you had some shininess also kind of more on the eyebrows
Hmm.
and the glasses. Now, do you wear glasses? I notice a lot of fuzzies have glasses.
Not like prescription glasses. Sometimes I wear them for style, or if I have to
Like
be in front
I
of a
wear them to
screen
look
for all
cute.
day.
That's all.
Yeah. But again, that goes back to my muses. Like a lot of them are definitely glass wearers. Like unless
Hmm.
she's one of my muses, she wears glasses too as well. So sometimes
Okay.
a lot of people like, oh, she buy like a new pair of shades of glass. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
I
I'm
need
gonna
to make a
save
new
that for a
fuzzy.
person for sure.
uh,
So yeah, so that ends up being kind of like, again, like the final piece. You can tweak it and everything as well. And then for that, I try to bring them into Illustrator so you can start to see a little bit more of like the final
nice.
piece here. Or not the final piece,
Cool.
but it's in my final piece. So
Yeah.
so we have to work roughly about a few minutes. So let's see if we can remake this a little bit quicker.
Great.
Okay, so to kind of start fresh, what I'll do is obviously have your board here, and we're going to type out our phrase. Let's see, it's a little bit small, but I promise I'm gonna
Everyone put on
do.
your glasses, right?
But on your glasses, just get
Uh,
a
Now
little
this
bit closer to your
typeface is
screen.
Thick Thinks. If you guys are interested in it, Thick Thinks.
Hmm.
Looks like it
Hmm.
is a very heavy typeface
Very
with
heavy.
tiny little slats in the middle to add kind of
Hmm.
some character to it. Obviously, would
Hmm.
only ever really be like a headline font. You wouldn't use this as body copy. It'd probably be too hard to read at a small scale.
Hmm.
Um, Alexis is saying Fuzzies also reminds her of Doug, which I loved Doug.
Hmm.
Quail Man. Um,
Quail Man, the greatest superhero to ever
to
live.
ever live. And that would
Saving
be
imaginations
hilarious to see a
everywhere.
fuzzy of Quail Man. Um,
We actually have one. I have one on the
mhm.
on the site. I did
Oh, do
a
you really?
inspired
No way.
piece.
Oh
There's a
man,
inspired piece on there. I think it's on the site too as well. But yeah,
that's awesome.
Quailman was one of those characters like didn't get the respect I felt that he deserved, to be honest.
We can dive into that in
He,
a different in
yeah.
a different episode.
He's definitely one of the legendary.
Also, speaking of
Um,
like fun names, like Patty Mayonnaise was
mhm,
a very like they had a lot of fun
a lot of fun.
with
Hmm.
their naming conventions.
Yeah, and it's great. I just love how they stood because like anytime you hear like mayonnaise or like you don't even put together like that's a hamburger. Like
Yeah,
it's like Patty
yeah.
Mayonnaise, Skeeter and Roger. And I think Roger probably the only like normal name, but that sounded like, you know, like that sounded like the bully of that
Oh,
specific
of course. They
specific
did great
story.
leaning into all that.
Absolutely.
Also, since I'm gonna zoom in way much. Oh, also you have it like optimized so that this is actually quite a big, but um, the animation of the fuzzy in the top corner of your
Hmm.
site is so cool. I love that. Love it. Was that just
Thank
in
you.
After
Thank
Effects?
you. Yes, yes. So
That's
just
cool.
like how we built out the character before, like I said, we just separated everything, we put it into After Effects, and that just allowed us to have a lot of fun with, really putting this character like out there.
Yeah, for
So we was
sure.
able to like really animate this. So I think that's like probably the third piece that I've animated of these characters,
I love it. I
fully
want to see
like
them all
that.
animated.
So yeah, so yeah, we're gonna definitely make it part of the routine as well.
Also have the
Yeah.
big Keep It Fuzzy, which kind of looks similar to what we're working on right now.
Hmm.
Different
Hmm.
typeface, but in the same vein. Also love the characterization of kind of the diagonal or wave
Hmm.
of Can't Fake the Fuzz on the website.
Hmm.
Um, there's just a lot of really cool, like the devil's in the details, and you definitely go there for all of them. And the more that you look at
Thank
a
you.
piece, is that Tupac?
Yes, Tupac is
Yeah,
fire.
I was gonna say, I was like, there's a nose ring, so it has to be, it has to
Yeah.
be. Um,
And that's the beauty of it. I love that people can like connect those stories without needing the exact details of
hmm
everything. So you can
hmm
kind of find the identity of the stories. And a lot of older cartoons actually did that really well for me too. That you see these characters like, show up like as features in these shows, but like they might not necessarily say their name outright, but you like that's
That's
that
definitely
person. I
referenced
know
by
exactly who
something
that
else.
is.
Now you're doing a lot of these edits in the appearance panel. So I'm talking over you while
Hmm.
you're doing some really cool stuff. Now you're mostly using these, and these are non-destructive, and these are unique to them, so you can always go back,
Hmm.
which is cool. Looks like you added a
Hmm.
offset path, and that kind of did an outline of it. And now you're
Hmm.
working with a transform of the opacity to. What are you doing here?
Yeah, so yeah, just to keep it, like you said, right on point and just keeping it non-destructive. I'm just going in and adding like the transform effect. And what this is allowing me to do is kind of get that extruded type of look and feel on this piece. And it just allows me enough to kind of like, oh, try some different things. And obviously I
Fun.
don't get it right a lot on this stuff,
No, but that
but
feels very 70s all of a sudden, right? Like
it
that
does, it
feels.
does.
Um,
Yeah,
Somebody
and it just
cranking
kind
out
of
a few
allowed me to like
horns.
really have some flexibility on this. So like if there was ever a case that I'm like, this is nice, but it's not really giving me a lot of, freedom. And if I say like, oh, if I say do, you know, I don't know, whatever, do what you like, or something like that, it may end up being something where I'm like, oh, I may need to change this and I have to restart that whole process. But this is kind of giving me the flexibility to switch that up too as well. Which I
For
just
sure.
realized I have love, do what love you.
Do
So
what love you, you know?
do what
It's a
love you.
variation, it's offshoot. We've got like a little under like 2 minutes left, which I know
Okay.
I'm like having you into super speed here. But if you guys
No,
are
no worries.
watching live right up after this, we have office hours, and this is going to be with Andrew and Nick, as it is every week. They're going to say the AI tools you may have missed. It says Adobe Firefly is becoming essential in our creative process, but there may be tools that you are already using that are powered by AI. Join Nick and Andrew as they take you through tools and workflows that you may have missed. So that'll be coming up right after this. Thank you, Cody, for being our moderator. And thank you, Hank, for walking us through all this stuff today. It's been really fun. You guys can check the full replay if you want. Um, I'm disappointed in all of you because nobody gave any names besides me. So I'm the
Come on,
only one that gets a
y'all.
gold star.
It's
Um,
okay. I'll post it online and everybody can give me a name on that
yeah.
online.
And then it looks like, yeah, you dropped this
Yeah.
right into Express, to which then you could easily post onto
Hmm.
different socials and stuff.
100%. So yeah, now you can
Oh,
see just some
easy, huh?
flexibilities and some funs that we can do as well. So yeah,
Oh, that's so fun.
but I'll finish it up and we'll post online and please everyone, I need a name for this. I don't want to come up with a name. Oh, we're gonna have to go with yours, Ryan.
Yeah, all right. Oh, we're gonna have to. Okay, I don't know what that means. Okay, sure. All right, man. Well, this was really, really cool. Make sure you guys check out Fuzzies. We have the links both in the description. Also, make sure you check out the Design Studio for all of those as well. Thanks again to Hank, and we will see you all very, very soon.
Absolutely. See
All right,
y'all.
bye, guys.